all kinds of cooperation FR SOCOM can have. He has been awarded the Legion of Honor, National Order of Merit Officer, and Military Valor Cross with 1 unit citation. I invite him as the next speaker of this session. And ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker of this session, Brigadier General Retired Hans Christoph Ammann, former Commander, German Army Special Forces. He has 40 years and 3 months of military career. One of his very important posting, General Ammann was posted to the German Ministry of Defense as Chief Operations Planning at Armed Forces Staff, while he was particularly responsible for the joint planning of German contributions to Operation Enduring Freedom and ISAF. In July 2007, General Ammann was appointed Commander, German Army Special Forces. He held this command until September 2010, when he finished his military career. General Ammann has been awarded the Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany, Operations Medal, KVM and KFOR, and Medaille de la Défense Nationale. I invite him as the next speaker of this session. And for the further proceedings of this session, I request the chairperson, Lieutenant General Retired H.S. Lidder.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Yeah, right. Well, I said that we commence this session which deals with the concept of employment of foreign special forces. As you can see, we have a very eminent panel with us. It spans the SF activity from UK to France to Israel and Germany. These countries have long been practitioners of special force operations and have a huge amount of experience to share with us. And I am sure at the end of their presentations, you will be able to identify those information gaps which you would like to be filled, and I would like you to please feel free to ask questions. Speakers have been asked to cover the concept of employment and roles assigned to their special forces, the organization structure at the macro level and human resources policies, interoperability aspects, exploiting core competency of individual service components, analysis of major missions and tasks, core strengths and weak areas. Weightage assigned to direct action missions in planning, training and equipping of special forces, and future strategies in the emerging geostrategic environment vis-a-vis the country involved. I would like to say that we have 25 minutes per speaker. At 20 minutes, we will ring a bell so that the concerned speaker can wind up his sessions. I first request General Lamb to kindly come and make his presentation.
Do you want to take questions at the end?
We'll take questions in the end, gentlemen.
Had a need to have special forces who were adaptable, who were courageous, who were thinkers, who were lean and hungry. They omitted to mention that what was really important was that they all had wickedly good looks. Now, I've never really followed the script on anything I've ever done when I was serving or now that I'm retired, but I'll run through the broad questions that were asked of me in addressing this morning's discussion. I think what is really important, really important, is that we understand the context subnationally, nationally, regionally, and internationally that you will find yourselves operating in what is a very different century, unlike all those that have gone before us. I believe that there has been a significant paradigm shift, not well recognized, not well understood, that is occurring and has occurred as we came out of the 20th century and now find ourselves in the 21st. And let me tell you why. I think those old maxims of find, fix, and strike have been completely turned on their heads. I remember when I first went to Germany as a young officer, looking across the inner German border at what was then the principal threat of the Soviet Union, we had very small find capability. We had elements of force which were there to fix the large strike maneuver forces, whether they were on the Atlantic and the Gap, whether they were over Poland, East Germany, and into Russia for the 2 and 4 ATAF for the air, or whether it was on the ground forces. I would suggest that this century, that paradigm shift has completely reversed. The problem we now face in the 21st century is how to find. Fix is inherently more complicated. It's not about a large force from which you maneuver around, but it is the use of money, diplomacy, politics, economics, capitalism, you name it. It is all those being brought to bear which fix those who would threaten us, and strike has moved into that which is about no longer just precision, but my view, precision strike on steroids, where you have to be very, very accurate in what you strike. Industrial violence is no longer the monopoly of the nation state. It was these last centuries. You know, the old British Empire, we had a huge navy. We could deploy forces to bring industrial level violence to bear. And you needed that underpinned by the old Westphalian model of the nation state. In this century, industrial violence is no longer that monopoly, because only a few people, and I could probably pick a few out of any single of the rows here, can bring industrial violence to bear on a nation state. whether that's chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear. We've been fixated by weapons of mass destruction as we came out of the last century into the new, and rightly so, because they represent a very clear and present danger. I went to Tokyo in 1994. 1994. That's 17 years ago. To see the Sek, who had just gassed the underground, killed 15 and hospitalized 5,500 people because they had been able to produce weapons-grade sarin, nerve gas. They were dabbling in biological weapons. They just hadn't employed it properly, although they had the wherewithal to do it. If they had used the dispersion methods they had available, they would have killed nearer 5,000 or more of their own people. And they were lunatics who tied themselves to low voltage, but had $60 million of disposable capital in order to create that capability. Industrial violence in this century can be brought to bear on your nation's state, on its people, on your way of life and your prosperity by just a few. That is a harsh fact. The power of one can be brought to bear on your screens by the suicide bomber. And he brings fear across your population. His method is quite simple. The means by which he projects that terror is through the media, is through mass communication, just as we see in Tunisia, in Libya, in Egypt, Yemen, anywhere else, in London. Can be brought to bear at a moment, and the sense is it becomes close and personal to the individual, to every one of your member, whether it be India, whether it be United Kingdom, whether it be America. They communicate that fear and terror. The power of the individual, his 15 minutes worth of fame, now becomes something which is very clear. Because while in this last century we had the three obvious commons, land, air, and sea, to deal with, we have today the problem of dealing with air, land, sea, and what I would roughly call communication space. And that includes space, cyber, media, communications. The ability through Twittering, through blogging, through the internet, to be able to energize, whether it's benevolently or malevolently, huge energies amongst people who are disaffected, angry, is absolutely omnipresent. Claire Lockhart wrote a very good book, which is called Failed and Failing States. It is her assessment by 2020, 2025, there will be somewhere in the region of 40 to 70 failed or failing states on the globe. Now, you can work out the maths, and the Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force is an enormous body. But you would run out of people at about failed state 3, 4. We just don't have enough people in uniform to be able to contend on a simple binary basis of control of those numbers of people. Those numbers of states will absolutely outface, whether it be NATO, the United Nations, whichever superpowers, India, China, United States of America, care to engage with them. We know from our experience in Iraq and Afghanistan and elsewhere, whether it's in Africa, Sierra Leone's, Mogadishu's, that these events take up huge numbers of people. So this century, I would suggest, gentlemen, is very different. And here's the final twist in the tale. We are fixated often, politically, militarily, culturally, into seeing, because that is how it was projected, the state as being the omnipresent threat. State-on-state enterprise should be that which we should be prepared to challenge. That has not gone away, but do not become fixated by it. Because as I look around the world, as I looked through my period of time operating on all the continents, and even now in retirement, I sense the threats that are very real, that take all of what I said before and put it into context, are the transnational and the subnational threats that sit within our countries and are influenced from outside. And if we do not think how we should address this, then I sense we will not be doing what the armed forces of any nation's first responsibility is, which is the defense of the realm, the defense of its prosperity, and the defense of its people. And this is the context under which you need lean and hungry, and you need thinking men and women to address the problems that are here already. If you merely polish the family silver, that which you have had in the past and done well, that has helped your nation emerge, progress, survive, then I sense you will not be giving proper and due service to the people who look to the armed forces against the threats that you will face that are already here. People would have been planning yesterday, were planning today, and will be planning tomorrow to bring industrial violence to my people in the United Kingdom. And I think we should be prepared to do something about it. So, my view would be simply this, that the individual can manipulate or create, through communication space, public outrage, public disorder, public dissent, public chaos. Weapons of mass disorder are probably more worrying than weapons of mass destruction. And secondly, those individuals can challenge and undermine state authority through suicide attacks, fear, creating sectarian and internal subnational tensions fueled by transnational money, support, or by chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear attack, or that of mass disruption. Hopeless situations create the perfect setting for what the hell purpose you get for 50 minutes of fame for those individuals who now have the wherewithal to challenge the state, to challenge your authority, and to kill your people, to kill your prosperity, to kill hope. If that is not a field the special forces should be applying their thought, mind, energy, and interest towards, rather than polishing the family silver of what either the United Kingdom, Israel, Germany, France, or any other nation have been involved in. Learn from the past, but look forward to the future. I think India is in a fascinating place. You have huge new energies, fiscal, population, education, to be able to move your armed forces and your special forces to a place that will be more difficult to us more established force. The question is whether you can do it. So, as an organization, my view would be simply this: you need to reflect the ability to find, fix, and strike within your special forces. And find is about selected human and organizational mapping and analysis. Find is about targeted human and organizational tracking and shaping. And find is directed human and organization disruption, both kinetic and non-kinetic. You have to understand the forces that are operating against you, and they are not clear. You know, terror without borders, criminality without frontiers. These are the harsh realities which the Special Forces community should be addressing their minds to, along with the political authority, your interagency partners, and the armed forces as how they support that function, in understanding that the prime focus should be on your ability to find those threats which are a clear and present danger to this nation. Fix is about influence operations. It's about positive intervention, i.e. going before rather than after the event. We get fixated on our ability to be able to deploy once a situation has unfolded, and we have to be able to do that. What is absolutely crucial is you apply your energy to be there before it goes wrong. Probably the finest operation I conducted as a Special Forces operator was in Macedonia. We could see, or we sensed, that the Third Balkan Civil War was about to unfold. So we went and talked to Rupert Smith, General Smith. We went and talked to George Robertson. And we put forces in place with the Macedonians, and in this case, with those north from Kosovo, to ensure that a misunderstanding or a misdirected action did not lead to miscalculation and the Third Civil War erupting. We didn't kill anybody. We got shot at every so often. We did some arrangements. We had mass communication to make sure that each side understood where they were transgressing. And then we did a disarmament program, and we didn't get the Third Civil War. So it wasn't about a body count. It wasn't about a kinetic action in its simplest form. It was about complexity. Because while these previous centuries have been dangerous and difficult, this one is just hugely more complex. Fix is about political influence and access. I sense as I look at India, you have, and for good reason, a relationship between the political authority and your military authority which is separated. I sense it needs to become a little closer. Because when you have subnational problems fueled by transnational interests, trust me, it will go ballistic in a moment and become very political. Mumbai is a good example. And Mumbai, you know, Mumbai 2, Mumbai 3, Mumbai 4, this is not in fact applied here to India. It will occur in Europe, Britain, Washington, you name it. Because the one thing the enemy do, the opposition, those that would oppose order or the rule as we know it, they do follow Darwin's very clear advice, which is it is not the strongest of the species which survives, but it is that which adapts. And they adapt at a frightening speed. Somebody asked me the other day, said, how will it finish with Libya? I said, probably with uncertainty from the realm, from the regime, and uncertainty from the rebel. But understand this, to borrow a line from Sir Winston Churchill, this, as it folds out, will only be the end of the beginning. We have not begun to understand the complications of what this will bring to us on a wider sense. Fix is about shared capabilities with national intelligence agencies. Fix is about shared capabilities with other national special forces and their agencies. It's about your relationship inside and outside. People talk about whole of government. What I see often is whole of government, and all you have to do is remove the W. The whole is very self-evident. Agencies do not cross across. Diplomacy doesn't talk. The Foreign Office, in our case, doesn't talk as closely as it should do with the military. The military not close enough with GCHQ, MI6, MI5, and the rest. Everybody protecting their budgets, protecting their selfish self-interest, and yet you face a single common threat. And how those are brought together is about fixing. Finally, strike is about precision on steroids. Force intervention is still critical, and pre-conventional strike capabilities from the Special Forces still part. On your strengths and weaknesses, understand this, brand equity. Prepare your own and others for failure, because you will absolutely face it. The assumption that you're always good, that you always succeed, is just not how it plays out. You have to manage that with your political authority, with your military authority, with your nation, because they'll be disappointed every so often. The mark of a Special Forces soldier, in my view, is his ability to walk away from a situation, not walk into it. People, people, people. Human capital in your investment is the key. You cannot spend enough time, energy, and effort in making sure you have the very best thinkers, the very best soldiers as part of that group. And it's about people, it's about purpose, and the least important is pay. Direct action versus strategic reconnaissance versus support and influence. Operations are shaped by strategic influence, framed by strategic reconnaissance, and exploited by direct action. Get there, get it sorted, and get back capabilities are expensive. The SF are not necessarily a cheap option. Balance of investment, at best, it would be 30%, 30%, 30%. Strategic influence, support and influence, strategic reconnaissance, direct action. And yet I guarantee most people immediately fold to, how big is my gun? They look towards direct action as being the be-all and the end-all of Special Forces. My view is not. In fact, I would apply probably a balance of 40% on support and influence, 30% on your strategic reconnaissance, and 20% on being bloody good at direct action. You have to have generalists, specialists, and experts. The bulk of your Special Forces should be generalists, a few specialists, and you do need some experts when you get into some of these technical fields. To the future, it's about shaping and influencing. It's about mapping and tracking. It's about innovation and integration. It's about being lean and hungry and filling your space with thinkers.
It's a pleasure for me to be here with you. It's my first time in India. And I have here three main challenges. First, to think in Hebrew and speak in English. The second one is to make you understand my English. And the third one is to share with you my small experience. I will speak with you today on the topic of the Special Forces. My presentation is going to focus on the challenges facing us in the future battlefield, the definition of Special Forces, its main structures, and how the units are structured. The third point is the main activation modus of the Special Forces. As you can see, in the future, we are going to face new challenges within the battlefield. To start with, this is a fight between a nation and a terror organization which has a nation capabilities. For example, Google Earth.